What's up, guys? It's Minx, and in today's video, we're gonna get started working on our. We're gonna do the same thing that I've already written, so I won't, the code won't be a surprise here. But we're going to be started making together our. I call it Lethal Michael Myers or Lethal Myers, whatever. Where we're gonna learn the principles I discussed in the two videos ago. I covered some principles specifically on networking in the last video. Two videos was a bit more specific towards this. So we're going to start that today. And in my how to make a mod video from scratch, a lot of uh, new people were upset that I didn't show how to start a project for this. So we're going to literally, I have downloaded Visual Studio, or not downloaded, I have a nothing Visual Studio here, no project open or anything. I haven't already made it. And we're going to really quickly do that together. It's really simple. So we're going to open a project or solution, or not open, excuse me. Wow, create a new one. I'm used to opening one, excuse me. And we want to make sure that, see, I have it in recent here, but if you don't, because you haven't made one before, we want to choose C Sharp. Windows is fine. We want to do the library. We want to, well, actually, we probably need Windows because it's going to be the .NET framework. We want to make sure we do a class library specifically for the .NET framework. .NET Framework's a little different than the other ones. I won't get into the differences here, but we want to make sure we use this one. So this is the one we hit create, and we can call it what we want. I'm going to do Lethal Myers tutorial. And now, if you're not interested in Lethal Myers specifically, the series is still going to be useful for you. You don't need to watch the whole one, the whole series to learn about everything we're doing. But there's a couple of super important things that we're going to do that we're going to teach how to do specific things. So, firstly, let me change this over to plugin. Change the name of this to plugin. Rename the class one over here to plugin. And let me just define a couple things here. So this is just a comment. This isn't like anything that's actually doing any code. This is just for our reference. So we're going to learn networking. We'll say networking basics because there's nothing complicated with what we're doing. It's actually super easy. We're going to learn how to add mod dependencies. And then the last thing we're going to learn that's a new concept that we haven't talked about is reflection. Learn reflection. Those are the three different things that we're going to look at how to use today to do certain things, or not today, but in this series. So, first things is I this is stuff that I'd normally have already written out because it's just boilerplate stuff. We're going to add our references to BepInEx and Harmony and the game itself real quick. So go ahead and right click on your project here and add references, new reference here. And you may have these here, you may not. You need to make sure you select the right ones. So we're looking for, I'm gonna hit browse here. We need to make sure we grab the relevant things here. So if we go to find your Lethal Company directory, you can do that by going to Steam, Library, and right click on Lethal Company and do Manage Browse Local Files. And let me do that, and this will pop up here. So once you're in here, you can copy this over to like from here and copy that into this dialog, and then it'll pop up. And now your BepInEx may be in a different spot, and you don't need to get this from here. I get it from here because I've always used this like this. If you're using like R2 Modman or uh, wow, the other one, Thunderstore from Overwolf, then you're not going to be able to, then you may not find these here. You'll find them in a different place. For me, this is where I find them. You can also get them from online because you can just download BepInEx and then copy the BepInEx and then the Harmony. But for now, I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to grab a BepInEx and a Zero Harmony and just hold down Control to select both of them without selecting what's in the middle, just to add. Okay, the next thing I want, and again, you could copy these over from here instead of using like the one directly from the game, because you will need to update these. If the game updates and something changes and you're referencing something that doesn't exist, then you're going to need to redo this. I think so there was when they added the shotgun, the nutcracker and stuff like that, my stuff wasn't, when I was trying to add stuff via code, it wasn't working because it wasn't seeing it because I had an old copy of the DLL. So anyway, let's go back to Lethal Company. Let's go to Lethal Company _data. managed. And there's a lot of things we're going to want in here. We definitely want the assembly C#. That is the generally the most important thing. We also want Unity Engine, just Unity Engine. Where is it? Unity Engine.core module and Unity Engine.dll. Those are usually the big things. So we're going to add all those, and we'll need to add more later, but we'll add those when we get to them because we don't know what we need right now. Unless you may actually already know what you need, but in this case, we'll assume we don't. So let's go ahead and get right on the plugin here. Plugin's super simple. We've done this a few times. Firstly, we're going to make it a child of base Unity plugin, and it's still going to come as an array even though we add the reference. We have to add the correct using statement, and this one's just going to use using BepInEx. It knows it's in there, so it makes it super easy. Then we just need some consts. We can also just type them out. We can say private const string. We'll say mod UID equals, and then we'll actually just copy these because they're all strings. And we need a mod name and a version. And then we can go above here and do a decorator. In my video, I mentioned that I didn't remember what they were called. They are called decorators, and that's what we're using here, decorator. So we're just doing not BepInEx, BepIn plugin. And it's mod UID, mod name, and version. Okay, what's wrong here? Yep, we need to go ahead and add a reference to... Oh, it looks like this is actually giving us the ability to add the reference. I thought I did add it. Add reference to Unity Engine.core module. Did I not add it? I don't see it in here. Oh, I must have accidentally selected the wrong one. Oops. Let me go back in here. Add reference. Hopefully no one was screaming at me through their monitor. Unity Engine.core module. I thought I added that. I must have hit... I don't know what I hit instead. We'll add it. Hit OK. There we go. Okay. And mod UID. So actual specific way to do mod UID is you want to do reverse, I forget what it's called, reverse web server notation or something, where you do com dot company name dot mod name or whatever, or software name. So I always just do Poseidon dot my game or whatever I call it, because no one else is Poseidon, but I'll do com dot Poseidon dot we'll say LM tutorial, and then mod name Lethal Myers tutorial, and version I'm just going to stick with the 1.0.0, and we're good there. So let's proceed here, and I think we've already gone over that stuff. I'm just going to add the boilerplate stuff here. If you've already done this, you can kind of skip ahead. So, Harmony looks like, oh, this is trying to do Harmony lib over Harmony. Let's make sure we add a reference here. There we go. Harmony. Okay, and then I'm going to reference my internal plugin here, plugin, and we're actually going to make it an internal static plugin instance. And then I'm just going to do my same thing that I like to do in all of them. Once I learned how to do this, I was like, yes, I like this one. I use console.log sometimes, but manual log source is nice. I'll just call it MLS. And that's it for now for that. We'll go ahead and do our void awake. Really? I guess it doesn't know. Void awake. And I always start with if instance GIF. If instance is equal to null, instance equals this. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and just say MLS equals BepInEx .logging.logger .create log source, and it'll be the mod UID. Okay, and that gives us our MLS to log with. Okay, and now here's where we're going to come up. We're going to set up our project structure today, so we're going to kind of create how things are going to work. Since we're dealing with net events, we're also going to add those references to the relevant mods that are things that we're going to need. Since we're going to be doing networking, and we're going to have event handlers that are going to be called from a server, we need to make sure that the object that is going to handle that exists before we need it. Technically, it doesn't have to exist before we need it. It has to exist at when we need it. But making sure it exists on game create or on game start means we're going to be able to ensure that it exists prior to them loading into a game. So we're going to want to go ahead and say down here, create object with network events. And the nice thing is about this library is it's a static library. When I say static, it doesn't have an object that we need to that's going to mess around with us or anything. We just simply add the lines of code that we need where we need them, and it will work. We don't need to do anything fancy or anything like that. And it's very nice. It's plug and play. It just works. It doesn't have a lot of documentation either. The developer kind of based it off of someone else's mod, and theirs just worked a little bit better, I guess. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's create a new. I'm gonna call this one new or add new item. I'm just gonna call this custom mode because it's a mode. I'm referring to it as a mode, and we're just gonna make it a type of mono behavior. Doesn't have to be a network behavior or anything like that, just a mono behavior. And then once that's done, we're going to do something that I've done a couple times. I usually do this with like mod menus and stuff like that, where the mod menu is its own object. In this case, the game mode is going to be its own object. And it's going to exist on all players, regardless of whether they're the host, because we don't know if they're going to be a host, as opposed to Unreal Engine, where only the server would load the game mode. So we're just going to do an internal static create game mode. Oops, internal static void. Lost my mind there. I'm like, why is it green? Okay, and we're just going to do something that, again, we've done a billion times. Var game object. I'll just say var, game object is fine. Equals new Unity engine dot game object. And it's not mod UID. I'm just going to call it custom mode. I've given it the same name. It's super easy. We're going to do Unity engine dot object don't destroy on load game object. Again, I don't think that's necessary, but I put it on all just in case. And we'll do game object dot hide flags equals hide flags 61, which is hide and what is it? Hide and don't save. We'll do game object dot add component, and this will be custom mode. And then plugin, and actually, hold on, we'll have to. So we've done everything. So this creates it. We want a reference to it because we just in case for outside use. There's a couple reasons for it. There's an event that gets called that we're going to need an external reference for. So we'll just do an internal custom mode, and it's called active mode. And we'll just say the since we need it, it's through our instance. We have to reference our instance. So plugin.instance.active mode equals game object.get component custom mode. What? We're gonna do it the other way. I'm not a big fan of this way. We're gonna do custom mode, and we're gonna cast this to custom mode instead. There we go. We'll do it that way. I'm sure either way is fine, but I want to do it this way. I think I can get rid of plugin here, huh? Yep, instance.active mode, very nice. And this will load this. Now, just like with our mod menu, where doing this instantly is bad. It's gonna be bad if we do it instantly here. So I'm just gonna add a delay on it. Test.delay. Dang. We'll just do 10,000. So we'll give it 10,000 seconds. Or well, 10,000 seconds. Excuse me, 10,000 milliseconds, which is just 10 seconds. Dot continue with, and t points to just create game mode. Now, this is a neat little trick for delays that doesn't hold up the thread. This will just this will asynchronously run this, if I'm not mistaken, is the way to put it. I don't remember. This will delay it 10,000 seconds without freezing the game, but we can't call things like network events on this, so we can't use it for that. We'll have to find another way for delays. I found a little hacky workaround, which I'm not going to get into today. So that's it for that. Let's go ahead and save this build just to make sure it's good. Let's go to our plugin, or not our plugin, our custom mode real quick. We're not going to add any actual code today. I'm just going to do some regions. So we're going to have a region for host events. Tag end region. So that's going to be things that only the host calls. I'm going to add a region for a Unity events because we're going to have update in a week in this that are all used. So end region. And this is again just for structuring. This is a fairly the object's not super complex, but it's lifespan is a little weird because it is supposed to go throughout the duration of the game itself rather than throughout each level. It just gets reset by whoever is the host at that time. So we've got Unity events, host events. I'm going to do event handlers, region event handlers. And we may change the order of these and region, and then finally event, region helper methods and end region. Okay, we'll just minimize these. We're not going to put anything in these today, but that's good. Next thing I want to do is get our what do you call it, mod reference. So I'm going to go to Thunderstore to start because this is where I located it. Now let's go to communities and go to Lethal Company. And I'm actually just going to type in its name. We're going to go network. And I found this one. This is the first one I found. And I struggled to get it to work. And I switched over to this one and boom, easy, got it to work. I don't know what happened with this one. It's even got documentation. I followed the documentation and I couldn't figure it out. I don't know if I was doing it wrong. The syntax looked correct. The syntax looked correct and sometimes it worked. So I started getting errors and I just kind of said, screw it, let's check out this one. Even though it had like 0 downloads when I first started. And no documentation. So I was like, let's check it out. So the way it works is actually very similar to the other one. It looks like it's very closely based off the other one. But all we need to know is that we can download it, and then we want to download the Odin serializer. So you can download it directly from here. I went to the GitHub to take a look and everything, just to make sure everything was good, and it looks fine. So you can read up on this stuff. We're just going to be using some global net events and some nothing like that. Global net event and global net message. We won't be doing anything like any object events or anything like that. So let's go back here. I'm gonna go ahead and download a copy of it. Actually, let's see if we can download it from here. No release. I ended up downloading it from Thunderstore. That's right. Okay. Yeah. See, it's got the one next to it, and you just want to make sure you get the DLL. And what I did was I installed it directly to my game. So I went to Lethal Company, manage browse local files. I went into Bepinex plugins, and I actually just dropped it in here. In fact, I have the old one too. I can get rid of this one. So I added Unity Network messages, and then if we go back, we can see that it requires Odin serializer, and it does in fact require Odin serializer. So we want to make sure that we download this, and I just did the manual download, so I'll do that again as well. And you just grab the Bepinex plugins Odin serializer. You just copy that over to get rid of this over here, and we just kind of copy, replace, and there we go. So once we got those installed, we can close out of. I can leave this open actually because that's a good thing to have open. We'll go back to Visual Studio, go right-click on our project, add references. And by default, your project will create duplicates of these, so you won't need to worry about that if the references get deleted for whatever reason. So if I'm going to go into plugins, oops, not wrong plugins. I'm going to go to Bepinex plugins, and we want to add Unity Network messages. We want to go to Browse, Odin serializer.dll. Okay. And one thing to note is we want to make sure that the serializer loads in before us. So what we could do is go right above Bepin plugin and do Bepin dependency. This isn't necessary, but it will prevent your mod from loading if the dependency isn't loaded. Or when I say isn't loaded, if the dependency isn't there, if it is there, it'll make sure the dependency loads. So this will ensure that there's no issues. So what we need to do is get the name of the mod, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look here. Return new Bepin dependency. It looks like it's, let's see. No. Can I scroll over? Cannot. Oh, here we go. It's mod.id. We'll need to see what it is, if it's the name or the ID. So let's go back. And on the other one, we'll go back here on Unity Network Messages. If we go to the source, because it doesn't have documentation, so we can't go look at the documentation for it. If we find, here we go. It looks like it's either going to be this or the Unity Network Messaging. And what we can do is we can actually just test it real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and add this one. There's an easier way to see this is probably to look at documentation. I'm too lazy to go look up the documentation, so we'll try this one out. And do boop. Okay. Open folder in File Explorer. And I'm building debug. Plugins. I'm going to delete my other one. Place this in. And just launch Lethal Company. And we'll immediately be able to see if the dependency was unable to load. Am I missing something? Nope, I'm not. Okay, we can see here it was that one that it was looking for. It was looking for the GUID. So we have this worked. If we put the wrong thing in there, it wouldn't have loaded. So for example, now that I know that that's right, we can swap this over to like something else. For example, save and build. Do the same thing. Ironically, having it work means I wanted to test it twice to make sure that if doing it wrong was not going to work. Though I know that it doesn't work if we do it wrong because I tried doing it wrong once. Okay, and of course it blocks it off, but we can see here cannot load Lethal Myers Todoro because it's missing dependencies, and it's super messed up thing. So we'll just use the GUID for that because the GUID is the unique identifier. So that's good. And that essentially, that does make us dependent. Now we could reference it without making it dependent. However, that doesn't guarantee that it works. We would need to check to see ourselves if it was loaded manually, or we could just let the game do its thing. So with that in mind, we are good. There's nothing else we need to do today. In the next video, we'll start actually writing out our custom mode. We've got our basic setup going, and I think this video is long enough for what it is, which is basically just boilerplate code that we've done 20,000 times before. So with that in mind, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.